September can be a funny month. Too late to start the heavy hitters of summer, yet still too early to shut the garden down for the year. It's an odd sort of limbo that can definitely give us pause, but that doesn't mean that there isn't anything to do. Depending on where you live, your zone, and your climate, the big guys like peppers and tomatoes are still going strong. And even though not every crop is on the menu, right now is actually a great time to seed and plant some of those cold weather stalwarts. With that said, planting is not the only September task, and today I've got 11 things to do in the garden this month. A checklist of diligence designed to keep our successes going. Yes, the nights are coming faster, and the garden is slowing down slightly. However, we're just hitting our stride. I always hesitate to give specific months to plant specific plants, simply because, like we mentioned, we all live in different zones with different climates. No doubt there's going to be a million videos on what to plant in September, but that's a list that isn't going to apply to everyone. It can't. However, one group of plants is almost always universally planted at this time of year, and we call these our fall crops, almost universally dominated by a group of plants known as brassicas, such as this dinosaur kale here. These plants are all virtually the same species, Brassica oleracea, and they include things such as cauliflower, broccoli, that kale, cabbage, and of course Brussels sprouts. These guys just love the cold weather, and in North America, they're designed to be harvested when the temperatures start to drop. It's why you see them featured so prominently in our Thanksgiving meals. Timing-wise, brassicas are best planted when there's about 6 to 8 weeks before your first fall frost date. That date is different for all of us. We simply have to look it up and then count backwards. Now, if you grow tired of the crucifers, other cold weather lovers that are suitable to plant would be things like carrots, beets, peas, spinach, and of course lettuce. These cold-loving specialists, however, are not the only crops that we can plant. This is where quick crops such as these radishes come in. Speedy plants that can take advantage of the warm, albeit shortened growing window. Yes, it's still summer and relatively warm out. However, fall and winter are looming, and not every crop is going to have time to see itself to a harvest. 30 to 45 day guys like arugula, peas, those radishes, green onions, and even some herbs are perfect to plant right now. As a bonus, many of them will actually perform better right now with those cooler nights, giving them some relief from the extreme heat and drought that has become the summer norm. Most of these are direct seeded, so give yourself at least a month before that first fall frost date and let these guys fly. And as if that weren't enough, late summer is also the perfect time to plant new perennials as we look ahead to next year. Blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, and strawberries, not to mention rosemary and even thyme. These guys can all find a home in your garden right now, provided they have at least a month until your first fall frost. Those 4 weeks at ideal temperatures in the late summer is going to allow these plants to get established and fortify themselves before the cold winter hits. Plant them now and get a jump on next year. With the planting all out of the way for now, it's time to plan for that famous fall favorite. That's right, garlic. Now, it's not quite time to plant these guys just yet, but it is a perfect time to plan for them. We need to figure out not only where we're going to grow our garlic, but also where we're going to source the seed cloves from. Garlic is grown from its own cloves of the previous year's harvest, and if we fail to save any back, well, we're going to have to buy some. There's no doubt that garlic popularity has hit an all-time high, so if you don't jump on this one early, well, you risk missing out entirely. It's not all about planning and planting though, as the latter parts of summer is a time when we see some of our best harvests. Peppers, tomatoes, the bulk of our ever-bearing berries, as well as all those watermelons, are all picked throughout September. We also have to remember that harvesting begets more harvesting, meaning the more fruit you pick, the more these guys are going to produce. The act of picking is going to allow the next round to mature much faster, ensuring that you get max bounty for each of your crops before winter hits. Enjoy the fruits of your labor this September. It's what we work so hard for. And with the end of a crop's life cycle comes a different kind of harvesting: seed saving. No question, inflation has hit us in many different ways, on many different levels, but the current rate of seed prices has become borderline ridiculous. And if they don't get you on prices, they most certainly get you on quantity. A $4 pack of radishes coming with just 20 seeds? Come on. At that point, it's just not worth it. The more seeds that we can save, the more money we can keep in our pockets, and the greater control we have over our self-sufficiency. Seeds are normally produced in two ways, and it's entirely crop-specific. They're encased in either pods or fruit, such as tomatoes, or they come straight from the flowers, like these green onions. Seed saving is different for each crop, and each one has its own procedure. It's not at all difficult though, and everyone should try to save as many seeds as possible. Just remember though, if you are saving seeds back for future plantings, always save those from heirloom or open pollinated varieties only. It's the only way you can be sure to produce viable, predictable results. This next one is all about striving for those predictable results. And that's to take cuttings from our favorite perennials, such as this rosemary and grapevine here. For many crops, growing from seeds is neither practical nor economical. Wherever we can, perennial hardwood and softwood cuttings are taken to make entirely new clones out of the mother plant. Now, normally done in the early spring, late summer can also see growth flushes where highly successful cuttings can be taken. If we can take advantage of these now, we'll be that much further ahead for next year. As with seed saving, the procedure for each crop is gonna vary. Blueberries, raspberries, grapes, rosemary, and thyme, all woody perennials and are all possible to take cuttings from. Just make sure you've got at least 8 weeks before your first fall frost. You can get away with caring for the young cuttings indoors over winter, but be aware that some of these plants need a cold chill to produce flowers and fruit. And while we're taking some cuttings, late summer is also a time when we can sneak in some pruning. Now, we do have to be careful with this one though. Pruning is normally done in the late winter, early spring, simply because the act of severing branches and stems stimulates most perennials to produce new shoots. Doing so too close to that fall frost and impending winter can spell serious damage for the plant. Spring pruning is much safer, yes, but a late summer cleanup can be beneficial and also lessen our workload for later. Just be careful with this one. Okay, back to planting. Specifically, cover crops like this fall rye here. Specialized crops designed to do one thing: protect. Fall and winter can do a number on our soils. Covering them up with a mulch or chop and dropping the last crop of the season is an excellent way to protect those top layers of soil from erosion and exposure. Even better than that though are cover crops. Late summer is when we plant our fall rye, vetch, clover, alfalfa, and many of the other cover crop options available. Essentially, we want these plants growing and fully established before the bad weather hits. So, plan to get your cover crops into the ground at least 4 to 6 weeks before your first fall frost. Simply cut down the cover crop the following spring and then plant as you normally would. For the crops that are still growing right now though, September is the month where we really have to watch that moisture. With most of the extreme heat gone for the year, it's easy to lay off the watering without that constant threat of imminent drought. But this can be a grave mistake and your plants can most definitely suffer. Successful fruiting can take a ton of moisture, and our late summer harvesting can be subpar if we're not just as diligent with the September watering as we were in the previous months. Gotta stay on top of this one right to the end. And lastly, the 11th and final thing we have to do for our gardens in September is to go shopping. Stores have already switched over to fall and are entering Halloween mode.
I don't know. That's creepy.
Crazy as it seems, this is something we need to take advantage of, as those once pricey bits of gardening hardware can be discounted beyond belief. Grab necessities now at a fraction of the price and be ready to hit the ground running in the spring. It may seem odd to plan and purchase that far ahead, but us growers are always thinking about gardening anyways. We don't want to think too hard, however, and honestly, we just covered a lot. So let's go ahead and recap those main points to make sure that it all sticks. September is an interesting month in the garden. The nights may be cooler and the days getting shorter, but many of our crops are still going strong. Hopefully these 11 tasks that we discussed here today keep you going strong and you can end off your season with much success. Hey, as always, happy growing, guys, and I'll see you soon.